Hello there and welcome back to Sound Alchemy Podcast, the place where we talk about the current and the grim darkness of the current state of affairs when it comes to the music industry and everything surrounding it. And today we're going to be talking about something that actually is not a surprise to anybody who is paying attention to the passing of time, which is, well, time passing by. And how it affects us as human beings, and that applies, of course, even for those who you consider to be rock stars. And today we're going to be discussing if some of the stars, some of the gods from the pantheon of rock music are a little bit too old to rock and roll. What do you think about that? Story number 8, and it's beautiful,
Manners,
who will say hello to girls and boys. How you doing?
Hello, girls and boys. How's it going? Very glad you're back. Great to have you here as well. So yeah, I think this whole thematic of the aging rock stars is very relevant because we have talked a little bit on other conversations such as this from the angle of no new bands kind of taking the place.
Yeah.
But now we have to consider that part of the reason is because the old acts never left.
They never left.
So that's going to be the focus of today's conversation. And to get it rolling, you asked me what I think of it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to return with a question. Is there even an age that would put, or would age be the defining factor of being too old to rock and roll?
Good point, because I was about to first ask the question, how old do you have to be in order for you to be too old to rock and roll? Okay, let's begin from there. First, this whole conversation got started out of some videos that are doing the rounds of Iggy Pop performing, and I don't know how old he is by the time of those videos being shot, but he looks decrepit. He looks bad. Also, some videos of Angus Young of AC/DC's fame, who also doesn't look as decrepit as Iggy Pop, but there is something missing, which is like 4 years less.
The thing is, it's interesting that the cases of Iggy Pop and Angus Young, they are very different cases.
Yes, because
so we can even use those to counterpoint one another.
Exactly. So yeah, because I picked those guys because even though both of them look old, one of them still can't keep up with it. Of course, Iggy Pop. No, of course not. And I don't have to even show you the videos. They truly look terrible. Do your own research. And those are doing the rounds quite often on Twitter, for real. And those guys are kind of come from the same era. Similar. Iggy Pop is earlier.
Yeah.
But I think age-wise, they're not that far from each other.
Talking about a few years difference.
Like 5 to 7 years, give or take.
Yeah.
And the thing is this. Are they still relevant, musically speaking? Of course. That's what I would say.
Wow.
If they actually were. Because when was the last time that any of those guys released new music, mind you? Because they are, culturally speaking, super relevant. Why? Because we're still stuck in the same culture from the early 90s.
The thing is that they earned their place enough within the general, in the public eye, that they actually, both of them are acts that are going to maintain relevancy basically forever. I think we're going to be talking about the AC/DC with the good and the bad for a good chunk of time. Forever might be too much, but for a very long time.
No, I would say that they would stay relevant for as long as rock music is considered music. Because they are part of the canons of rock and roll. Is probably some of the truest examples, both of them, of what classic rock sounds like, which is the backbone and the cornerstone of everything that came after. So the thing is that you got those guys who are still performing, are still taking money out of people's bank accounts. For sorry for being blunt, but it's what is happening. Because for as much as I love my AC/DC, I think people having the access or having the chance to go to see one of the gods of rock music is basically speaking destroying the chances for an up-and-coming band to become the next generation of gods of rock music. Am I incorrect?
No, I am 100% in accord. I feel that one of the main issues regarding the whole thing that there's no new relevant rock acts is the fact that the previous generation never left. We still see the same faces on the same posters, promoting basically the same tours, because most of them are not releasing new music, which is actually a very core point in the whole conversation. The release of new music.
Yes, because that's probably the only way for someone who has been around forever to still make the claim that they should be touring. And again, call me as arbitrary as you want me to call me, but let's be frank about it. We got plenty of acts who are running on the fumes of nostalgia.
Yeah.
Several, and it's not exclusive to rock music. But for example, you got Peter Gabriel. He released a new album like a year ago.
Yeah. Pretty good, actually.
Pretty good.
I.O.
Pretty good. And the Atmos Mix got Grammys and stuff. It was a very successful album. In both, production-wise, is Peter Gabriel. Of course, you should expect something of super high caliber.
Yeah.
But also the music itself, relevant.
Yeah.
Not because it's a new take on Peter Gabriel. No, it's Peter Gabriel releasing new music. It's that. As simple as that. And got plenty of praise from the fan base. I, for one, happen to like his music a lot, and was quite happy to see that he still got it. His voice is still as Peter Gabrielish as it has always been.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Not necessarily a compliment.
No, but it's not an attack either.
He knows what you do with it.
And he knows what he can do with it, and he exploits it to its finest.
Yeah.
So he always delivers in that regard. So that's an act that I consider to be relevant and still had the right to be around and kicking.
Yeah.
But let's compare to something, I don't know, like Kiss, who allegedly retired a year and a half ago. Would they be in the same position?
Do you know when was the last time that Kiss released new music?
No, being frank.
But I think we're talking at least a
10
couple
years
of decades.
easily.
Yeah.
Or let's go for something that I am quite aware of. Guns N' Roses. Their last album was released in 2007, man.
Yeah.
And
Which, let me tell you, if you didn't do the math, is almost 20 years ago.
Yes, damn.
It's scary math, but not wrong.
It's not the kind of math that I like to do. Well, I don't like to do math often, whatever. No, but it's actually been that long.
Yeah.
Would they be able to? Of course not, man. But they're still touring.
Yeah.
What are they promoting?
Themselves?
Use Your Illusion? Probably, yeah. They're promoting. No, they're not promoting anything. They're just running on the fumes of the huge success they amassed. And this is coming from a huge Guns N' Roses fan. But come on, man.
Yeah, enough.
And those guys are not old, age-wise. They simply don't want to do it. That's even worse.
Yeah.
Because they could be. They are still quite good live. I have seen them live in this age. And they're fantastic. They're still doing everything correctly. Nothing's wrong about them. But they're not putting the effort in that regard.
The thing is that I think it goes beyond being still capable of delivering a show, but having a reason to do it.
Yeah.
Because, you put it correctly. I think Guns N' Roses still delivers on the stage.
Excellently.
And for instance, AC/DC, which is probably the most emblematic example of this as well.
They're still able?
They're still able. They deliver. The energy they deliver on many regards,
It's
which
incredible.
from that perspective specifically is remarkable.
It is.
But why? That's a question maybe we should be asking as well.
Yeah, that's where I want to put the most emphasis on. Because I'm concerned, and this is actually a deep concern of mine, that we as a society will not move forward or past this particular zeitgeist, this particular cultural moment. Because we have not that many new people being born, and those who created this zeitgeist, this cultural moment, are still the ones dictating the culture, and those guys created this zeitgeist 4 years ago. So we're still stuck in the same era.
And like this release concerning because it doesn't pertain only music.
No,
because
this is
we can look
cultural.
at this from any angle we like,
Yeah.
and we're gonna see that we're stuck in movies, in games, in music, of course. But in every single cultural aspect that you look at, you're gonna see that we haven't moved.
Yeah, any form of human expression is dictated and in a certain degree controlled by this cultural moment. And the fact that we're not moving forward, in the contrary, we're actually fighting to stay where we are. Because don't tell me that anything related to... Man, there are places in the world that are still talk about Barack Obama being the president of the United States.
How long has it been now?
Almost he got elected in 2008, man. Almost 20 years ago as well, man. God damn. It's at least 15.
And look, on the realm of music, there's the very concerning thing happening, which the acts don't. They seem to be able to go through any lengths they find in order to keep themselves going. And I say this with, for instance, Queen in mind. Which once again, if you have been keeping up, you know that I like Queen. I'm actually a Queen fan. But honestly, Queen for me died, how many years ago?
Like 40?
Like at least 30.
Decided to stop rocking?
Yeah, at least 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Queen hasn't existed.
No.
But you can still go to their concerts, to the Zombies, the Corpse concerts.
Because none of the OG members are still in great condition. Brian May looks super good.
He does, and he's still delivering.
Yeah.
But the thing is that's beyond that. Queen, in many regards, was Freddie Mercury.
100%.
I think it's even disrespectful to some degree to keep the band going without him putting... I won't even go into the merit of the person that they put in the place, because that's a conversation for another day.
And that can get us in huge trouble.
So I'm going to leave it at that for the time being. But just the fact that they got something that was the heart and soul of the band, and they replaced it without a care in the world, just feel disrespectful, being quite honest.
100%.
And as a fan, rather than being happy that I still have the chance to go to a Queen concert.
Would you go?
Nowadays,
Have you ever been?
I wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't.
I get you. I feel you. And I happen to agree. Because I think Queen is a good example of running on the fumes of nostalgia. And I think it's also another symptom, or a reflection of another very problematic symptom that our society is going through right now, which is I don't want to go old.
Yeah, true.
It's kind of like a Peter Pan kind of syndrome, but in a very, very gigantic proportion. Because you see people, for example, millennials are the quintessential I will never grow up kind of eternal child mentality, right? But you also got boomers and Gen Xers who are I will never go old. I'm not old, you are. Get me? Kind of mentality.
Yeah.
Because I think we grew up, or we have been, we grew up in a society that it's teaching us to be afraid of dying.
Yeah, of the passing of time.
Yeah, we have developed this aversion to the concept of normal life expectancy and actually being alive. Because what makes a human being alive? Well, the chances and the inevitability of death. That's the truest definition of being alive, that you will die at one point. If you cannot die, can you make the claim that you're alive?
Very philosophical.
Of course, that's my usual trips. But yeah, think about it.
Yeah.
And we live in this society that is always trying to fight against the concept of decay. And decay not in the sense of the passing of time, but decay in the sense of your body. Our society is so focused on the material aspect of the human experience that is stopping people from embracing the beauty of the miracle of life. That's why we're not moving forward. It's not just necessarily speaking the business trying to be greedy and capitalizing on the successful acts. Why don't you see any? For example, there is right now, by the time of this conversation taking place, this video game, I think it's Expedition 33 or something. The one I told, the French game, that is not awful. Look at that.
High praise.
High praise.
These days.
Because it happened to be just a freaking game. What makes it special? I read an interview of one of the guys. I think it's the lead designer. The guy wanted to create a game inspired by the Final Fantasy games that he played when he was a child. So I assume Super Nintendo and a PlayStation. So mid to late 90s stuff. Then he said, well, since I dropped out, I stopped working for Ubisoft. I only had a few connections, and I hired just people fresh out of game developing school. I don't even know what that is. No, I do. It's programming and shit. And the musician for the guy who wrote the score out of SoundCloud. For real. Okay. I think the guy who did the designs or the story, also out of Reddit or a website. Hey, we're looking for someone who would be willing to write the story for a up and coming video. Could you do it? Yeah, I can try. That's like that.
Yeah, not busy or anything. So.
And why did it work? Passion.
Mm-hmm.
And why? Because all of them had passion for something they saw being awesome as a kid, and they wanted to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
And it created something new. How often does that happen ever again? Man, the fact that I'm sharing this story as something remarkable and different, dude.
The thing is that when was the last time that we got something new?
Yeah, in the 90s. Yeah, when we get freaking Doom. Think about it. And all of the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, we're just getting the same regurgitated slop.
Mm-hmm.
Because think in terms of movies. There is another Jurassic Park, starring Scarlett Johansson somehow.
For you?
Yeah, not even that is enough for me. So no, no, Scarlett Johansson. That's always good. No, but
distracted.
Yeah, but we're gonna reboot after reboot.
Yeah.
Because we got more Avengers movies coming down our throats.
Yeah.
There is a second season for the Daredevil coming out of the revival of Daredevil again, which happened to be a flop. So it's more of the same.
Yes.
And musically speaking, have you been excited about anything in music? Being honest.
No, not really.
Have you seen any form of craze like what happened to Green Day back in the early 2000s?
Don't even get me started on Green Day.
No, but I don't like
it's
them.
very relevant to this conversation.
No, we will get to them. Believe that. No, but we are. But think of how big they were. They were kind of a cultural movement to a certain degree.
It was. Yeah.
The same what happened to My Chemical Romance.
Mm-hmm.
And everything. I'm just going back to early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to go a decade earlier, everything grunge.
Yeah.
See how much even the clothing, the lifestyle was affected by it.
Mm-hmm.
Now think in terms of not rock music. For example, early 2000s again, the Usher, all of that stuff, the Fast and the Furious look. It was a particular aesthetic from the early 2000s, and not the Fast and the Furious, not the Fast Five and from onwards.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the whole thing with the street racing. It was a thing.
It was.
And it was not just doing the street racing thing. You got TV shows like Overhauling and Pimp My Ride. You got the untold numbers of video games based on the not on the franchise, but based on the Fast and the Furious concept.
Yeah, and it was culturally impactful because
aesthetically speaking,
clothing, the way to speak,
even the lingo changed, man. Dude, we even got Steven Seagal making movies inspired by the Fast and totally not ripping off Fast and Furious. I saw the other day a badass review of one of his movies.
Another gem,
yeah. And it's basically him ripping off the Fast and the Furious. Like, god damn.
And was it a mega blockbuster?
It was a mega flop, of course. It got a Space Ice. If you don't know who that guy is, just type down Space Ice and Steven Seagal. You're gonna be JCVD Van Damme. His reviews of Van Damme are fantastic.
Fun.
Oh, so good, man. JCVD. But coming back to this, that was a little bit of a derail. But you get my point.
Yeah.
We are not seeing that anymore.
No.
Because again, a few weeks ago we discussed the fact that Katy Perry and Beyonce are not selling out the stadiums. Again, if you come to me to tell me, oh, are you claiming that they're failing when they're selling millions of... No. The thing is that they're starting to lose profit, not money. They're not getting as much money as before. And I think it's a symptom of what we're discussing today. Because it's not necessarily a follow-up to that conversation, but
it correlates.
The recent developments are taking me to that particular conclusion.
Yes.
What do you think?
The thing is that it goes deep, because if you want to have a look at who pulls the strings on many things as well, you might,
those that shall not be named.
You might find that there's also other motives for things to be as they are, because we were talking about some of the legacy acts that are still ongoing. I was thinking how it's sad to see, but from the perspective of someone that at their height probably was extremely inspirational to people, now you see beyond their prime, and that inspirational aspect is kind of lost.
You mean like now looking at it from the greedy aspect?
Yeah, because once again, let's go Iggy Pop, which is probably the a little bit more striking on that regard.
Yeah.
Iggy Pop on the prime was moving people in insane ways.
Yes.
A trendsetter, someone that actually had an impact on culture.
Yeah, he did.
And that is inspiring because you see you being present at the right time. You said, okay, this is awesome, and I'm a part of it. Even as a fan, I'm not even trying to be like him.
Yeah,
as a fan, you feel I'm part of this.
Yeah, I saw Iggy Pop for the first time when he came back from the dead in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, who's that old fart? Somehow is buff, but old. Like, oh, it's Iggy Pop. Okay, why is he old? Because he's been around since forever. Okay. And then, okay, his music, not a fan, but damn it, he's cool. I like it. And he's a nice guy. I can see why you mean that.
No, but look,
what do you mean by that?
Think of the aspect that music can be the point of coagulation for a generation to speak its mind.
Could you say conflagration? That sounds better than coagulation.
Yeah, it was just a word that popped up.
Okay.
It might not be the best, but regardless.
Yeah.
Is a unifying point within culture. People can rally up under a banner of what the artists managed to express through music, but is capturing the essence of a generation. If all that is happening is from previous generations, there's no flag to gravitate towards. There's no movement. There's no drive. From a societal perspective, I mean. It's just music without all of the cultural impact. It's just the music.
Now, good. You got me to thinking. Would you say that today's music, its gravitas, and what makes it attractive, is simply because of it mimicking what was done before?
But you mean the lack of gravitas?
No. Wherever gravitas they got.
Mm-hmm.
Because think about this. How close is today's Lady Gaga in aesthetics and even musically speaking to Madonna at her prime?
Very.
It's very close, man.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be thin foil hat that they are just preparing the replacement for, or simply put, creating the continuation of certain products? Think about it.
Yeah.
Because they tried to do that with Britney Spears.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have to remind you all of the stunts done in the early 2000s between her and Madonna and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Where did that go? Well, don't look up for Britney Spears today. It's kind of sad.
Actually, you're making me think something that now creating a counterpoint of what you're talking about in the pop industry to what happens in the rock industry. I think that you're correct. This thing about just basically preparing the next replacement makes total sense. The thing is, on the rock industry, since people actually still care for the musicians themselves and for the bands,
that's why you don't see the replacement.
You can't do it in the same way.
Yeah.
You need to perpetuate what already exists rather than replacing it.
But for how long are they going to keep rocking? Until they are in life support?
Do I need to mention the whole thing with the holographic stunts?
Yeah, that's the issue, man.
Yeah.
Because that also means that we are for those of you who are not aware of what he said, he's already created a holographic system that will allow them to perform forever through the use of AI. And no, it's not a conspiracy theory. And I'm not going to give you the details. Do your own research. I think and I believe on your intelligence. But yes, they did that. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they want to keep rocking forever. They are basically franchising Kiss, the band, not the brand. Yeah. Just let that sink in, because in mind, if they manage to pull that off, they haven't done any form of concert, but they even created a huge shebang around it, a huge promotional stunt behind the whole digital Kiss. Mm-hmm. Imagine that you can actually franchise these shows and have access to the infrastructure that will allow you to have Kiss performing live every weekend at your Kiss-inspired rock bar, on which you get the official Kiss holograms. Mm-hmm. Dude.
Yeah.
Who can beat that?
Impossible.
And look. And wait.
Yeah.
There is more. No live musicians involved. So no musician is going to get hired for those shows.
Actually.
So,
now so many layers of dystopian.
This dystopian as all F.
But look, it doesn't even need to go the dystopian route for this to be scary. Because look, the thing with Kiss is still an experiment. It has never been done. honestly, if they are announcing it the way that they're doing it, it's because it's gonna work. It's gonna work. But regardless, let's put that aside for a second.
Yes.
Think of, once again, Queen. Think of Linkin Park.
Yeah.
Those are bands that shouldn't exist.
No, anymore.
They shouldn't exist.
No.
But they do.
But
why? Because they don't care. They keep going.
That's the problem.
They keep it running whatever ways they find. And the fact that now even... Because for me, the whole thing with Freddie Mercury being replaced is very significant.
Oh.
Because if a rock star, a personality as big as he was able to be replaced within a band, it means that everybody can be replaced.
Yes.
Which means that soon, Queen as a brand will be able to replace Brian May if he becomes unable to perform soon enough, and see that if the people involved are not
willing to
important anymore, then the band can be perpetuated forever. Just
because
replacing...
it's a product. It's not music anymore.
So it doesn't even need to go the holographic route.
No, I get you because they can franchise.
Yeah.
They can even franchise the concept of Queen. Good point, man. Because if we think about all of the Elvis Presley impersonators, it's kind of like that. But that's unique. It's a thing.
Yeah.
I think it's fun, but it's fun because it's the only one doing it. It's the only one that it's developed that kind of persona. And the same way happens with Michael Jackson. It gotta be the king.
Yeah.
It makes sense for those two guys because those guys were larger than life characters, and actually there is some fun to be had with that whole thing with Elvis. Particularly, Elvis it's kind of stupid, right?
Yeah.
Because depending on which kind of Elvis, fat Elvis or regular Elvis, you're mimicking. Yeah, that's kind of fun, and also kind of the character. Well, whatever. I'm digressing there, but I get your point. I get your point because in the case of Linkin Park, why didn't they replace Chester? Was the name, right?
Chester, yes.
Yeah.
The singer.
Yeah, rest in peace. Not a fan. Far from a fan. But I respect what they do, and they did.
I respect what they did, not what they do.
At what point? I'm going to rephrase it as the same as you did. And why if they truly care about continuing with music, why did it take, basically speaking, 20 years for them to find a replacement for the lead singer? For them to pick the farthest from the proper singer.
Yeah.
Because they pick a chick.
Yeah.
Is that a problem? Yes.
In this scenario, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Because how are they gonna are they planning to sing the original songs, which are the ones that created Linkin Park?
Yeah.
That's already showing the middle finger to the audience. And again, but it's because they're respecting their artistic integrity. Do they? Or is that shock factor? Because the only reason why people began talking about him was due to the controversy surrounding picking the totally not correct choice for the singer, especially because the heart and soul of Linkin Park is Chester.
Yeah.
Coming from someone who doesn't like their music.
But once again, is a matter of respect, because for as much as I know that you're not a fan of the music, I for one like it. I have plenty of nostalgic reasons for it. Regardless.
And even still, I can see the importance of respecting the legacy.
But it's about respect. Because you know that for whatever it is, you may like it or not, you know that it happened, and it happened for a reason.
Yeah.
And now that reason has been replaced with not a care in the world.
No.
And the thing is, the audience should be more pissed at it.
Yeah, and reactive.
Yeah.
Reactive. That's the issue. That's why I am concerned with this whole phenomenon. Because it's the lack of reaction. It's just accepting. And it's taking us to the slop thing again. People are willing to indulge in the slop because they do it willingly. They don't even have they don't even put any form of resistance.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, of course, go me harder, daddy. Kinda is an error, isn't it?
It is.
Because, dude, again, why would you go to a concert of a legacy act if they are not even rocking anything new? I get it if you never saw him live. Okay, but the thing is this, the image you got in your head is of them, Guns N' Roses. Let's say that I'm 15 again, and I discover Guns N' Roses. Most people, I think, they discover good music when they are around early teenage years.
Yeah.
You discover Guns N' Roses. Oh, they're coming to town. Yeah. I wanna get my ticket. And you get pumped by watching the old badass performances from the Use Your Illusion tours. And then the antics with Metallica and all of the fun, the legendary shit. And then you go there like, okay, I thought Axel was slimmer. Yeah, but it's the same badass music. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is that you are there expecting something different, something that is not there anymore. But if you were there because, okay, I discovered this band, Guns N' Roses. Why? Because they released a new album. The music is awesome. What's the name of this one? American Democracy is the follow-up to Chinese Democracy. Let's pretend that we live in that world, okay? And you're 15, I'm 15. So, dude, this is a badass band. This is a new album from an old band. Okay, let me see. Okay, good. Guns N' Roses. They've been around for this long? Let me check the back catalog. I can see why. And then you would go to the concert pumped because you will be there to see them perform the new stuff plus the legacy. That's the whole point of live music, right? And before you say, but those songs hold value because yes, of course they do, and probably more than the new stuff. In some cases, they do. But we're not talking about the value or the quality or the importance of those songs. We're talking about the artist himself, earning his right to be on top of a stage, performing, and not relying on the success of his past career. Because if you think about it, and this is not coming from somebody who is angry because people are buying Guns N' Roses tickets instead of my tickets. For first and foremost, we're right now not active. Secondly, and so you don't have to I don't have to let you attack us there. First and foremost. Secondly, I'm concerned with the future of rock and the development of music in general. How can we bring new sounds? And new is not a qualitative quality. It's a it's just a feature. But how can we get the new good shit if no new stuff is coming out of anybody's rear? It won't happen.
Yeah.
So we need new stuff to come out. The vast majority of it's gonna fail in the process. But whenever it hits gold, we're gonna get a new David Bowie. We're going to get the next Queen. But we are not able to do it anymore.
But the next Queen will only pop up when the previous Queen
dies.
Is out of the scene.
Yes.
And it seems it will never happen.
Because they cannot die a true death. Sorry for spitting. But god damn it.
Yeah. Because think about the fact that since they were, honestly, the most irreplaceable out of the bunch, not because he was special. No, it's just because from a personality perspective, thinking of the personality of the band. If Freddie Mercury was replaced, anybody else in the band can be replaced without
I can see your point.
Which means that Queen can be perpetuated forever. And Queen just being the token, okay? It's just the example here, but the same principle applies to any band.
Metallica.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because even if you say, okay, it's impossible to replace James Hetfield. And I would agree with you, but they replaced Freddie. So
if they replace Freddie,
of
course.
Is it really an argument?
Good point. Never thought about it. You're correct because I was so say wait no how can you no. They did it with Freddie Mercury. Damn.
Exactly. So and Metallica once again pertains to conversation not because it's already part of this issue, because Metallica, even though it's already a legacy act, they're active. They're still active.
They're still pushing.
So I won't make any complaints on that regard. But seeing how they are business-wise, I know that they're gonna be part of the problem in a few decades.
Eventually,
Yeah.
Decades. That's the issue. Decades.
Yeah. Well.
I don't know. I hope they're still around for as long as it's humanly possible.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't like to see them go down. Not in the sense of them sucking, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There is a point on which everybody is unable to keep up with the passing of time. That's totally normal, and we should celebrate that. Think of David Coverdale, Whitesnake, and Deep Purple fame. I had the chance to see Whitesnake perform live in 12 years ago. Great, awesome. They were still capable. David is the only one that is almost probably octogenarian by this day. But he's still in such a great shape, man. He doesn't look like he's that old.
He still looks cool.
He looks cool and he's healthy. But the thing is that he is clearly not able to keep singing at that level. That's why they haven't toured ever since.
And it makes sense.
No new releases, no nothing.
Yeah.
The band is clearly nostalgia 100%, but they're not trying to disguise it as, oh, no. It's honest, and that's good.
Yeah.
Because they're playing to their prowesses, but to their strengths.
Yeah.
Because their latest album, I think, got released 10 years ago, and it wasn't a new album. It was David Coverdale singing in a Whitesnake style some of the songs that he sang while he was part of Deep Purple. It's the deep cuts or something like that. I don't remember. Please correct me in the comments. And it's a good album. Is it great? No. It's clearly for the fans of both Deep Purple and Whitesnake, and I look at it as a novelty.
Yeah.
The rendition of Soldier 14 actually is fantastic. I gotta say, but that's a good track already. But
Yes.
the way that he did it with this more mature version of David Coverdale is very good. I like it.
But look, even that you mentioned, the more mature version of David Coverdale,
Yes.
I think this is also a point that needs to be addressed here in the conversation. Because I do think that there are ways to do it, okay? Because we, for the most part of the conversation, have been kind of attacking the artists that have been around for way too long. But there are ways to do it. I think there are legitimate reasons and legitimate ways for an artist to keep himself active and relevant in a way that is respectful, first to himself, and also to the audience.
And the audience, agreed.
And I think that you mentioned is a way. You mentioned Peter Gabriel, which is also one that probably is a great representation of that.
Yeah, because for as long as you have something to say as an artist, you should be on the stage.
But also is not only that, which is what I'm going with it. You can also be releasing new music, but it being exactly more of the same. Now let's bring to the conversation Green Day, for instance.
Okay.
Is a band that has been active for now like almost 40 years, I think.
Easily.
Or Blink-182, and they come from basically the same time.
Yeah.
And they all in the beginning, both of them had that kind of a angry teenage vibe about them.
I would say that more about Green Day than Blink-182. Blink is a little bit more of the carefree attitude.
But kind of teenage in nature.
It's teenage 100%.
And they're still active. Both bands are still active somehow.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it doesn't feel like they moved
forward.
They matured. That they're actually doing something that pertains the moment of life that they are currently at.
Projects the knowledge acquired through the years.
And I don't even know if they're making new music or not, or just playing under the old catalog. I actually think that they are making new music.
I think they are as well.
But it's as if they weren't.
And the reason why nobody, or they are not hitting the same, or reaching the same level of recognition or success in the mainstream, is because that momentum is done and it's been forgotten for almost 20 years now, if not already. Because they're trying to appeal to the same people through the same methods, using the same music. Won't work, and that's also something that is kind of difficult to describe. Because even though while we are praising, for example, Peter Gabriel for releasing more Peter Gabriel music, we're attacking Green Day for keeping themselves up to the same standards as ever. But there's a big difference between both. Musically speaking, you see Peter Gabriel maturing. There is something about the music, and even the compositions show. Even the concept itself, because I think I.O. is him. It's an introspective. Words are hard. Introspective take on the idea of your place in the world as a living organism, and I kind of see why he's thinking that way, because probably he's starting to think, okay, I'm closer than far away from finishing off this road. So, but when you look at Green Day, still attacking the Republicans, damn it. Like, if it's not been done since forever.
Yeah, and you see artists such as, let's say, David Gilmour, Sting. I think
when was the last time David Gilmour released an album? Like a year. No. He's releasing new music. But the span of time between songs and albums is like what? Almost 8 years, if not more. And he's not touring constantly. You rarely see him live for the last 20 years. There are some moments. because he was when he released the Rattle That Locks, I think it's the latest album he did. He actually toured for a very small period of time in Europe, and some dates in the US. No more. Why?
And what's the impression that you get out of it? You what you think about the artist is that okay, he's still a thinking mind.
Yeah.
He's still outputting music. He still has art in him.
Yes.
And he's putting it out there.
Yeah.
I can respect that.
Yeah,
and
I really.
the rhythm of the whole touring and stuff. I think, of course, having a tour makes sense if you're releasing new music. But even you see that he's treating his own phase in life respectfully.
I agree. That's the whole core of the conversation, and it's something that you're not seeing in some of their acts, including the good stuff. For example, Kiss again is the total opposite.
Yeah.
Because even though they're still amazing live, dude, enough.
Yeah.
Because if you're not willing to release new music, that's the reason why you're quitting. Yeah, but you don't want to quit because money. Damn.
I think that Kiss has always been corporatized.
Yes.
I feel that it's kind of sad to see in the acts that you used to think of them as legit.
Yes.
Because Kiss has always been for fun.
Yeah, look, I like him. Not a fan of the music, but I like him. I find him to be amusing. They're a great role model for someone who is learning his way around even business as a whole.
Yeah.
Great marketers, fantastic business people. Not that much when it comes to their music. Being musicians is not necessarily their strength, but great in the rest of the areas of the music business. And I'm a fan of that, man.
Yeah.
I like them a lot. But this move of them not accepting the passing of time is setting a bad precedent, man.
Yeah.
And a terrible one that I'm concerned with. It once it finally it's released upon the world, becoming the norm and the standard for the rest. Because in mind, Bruce Springsteen doing that, nobody's gonna beat him, man. Or Elton John, all of the truly mega blockbuster acts. Because for as big as Kiss is nothing compared to Beyonce.
Yeah, because it's still niche.
It's rock.
Yeah.
But think of freaking Beyonce, Madonna, man.
Yeah.
Because forever. Not even Katy Perry is gonna be able to compete with that, man.
No.
Not even the might of Katy Perry, Beyonce, and the unholy trifecta with the Lady Gaga would deal with that. And if they manage to bring Michael Jackson, no, they can't.
They won't.
They won't. They won't. They don't like it. It's not necessarily that bad. Yeah, because after everything that happened, yeah, they kind of, they pushed they pushed about a good chunk of the fan base to the fringes of free thinking. I'm gonna stop it there. Bad stuff, man.
It is.
This is a very, 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 very kind of bittersweet situation because, for example, even the post that inspired this conversation was me finding a post on X of David Lee Roth performing Panama by Van Halen. Awesome. His voice was spot on. They didn't change anything on the track. The band was performing amazingly well. And I read the comments. And the first thing is that to tell him that he's not young enough to keep rocking those pants. To quote. Why? Because he was wearing the traditional leather pants, man. And from what I read, probably going a little bit commando. So
somebody was paying way too much attention. Well,
it's because of I don't know, wherever. And most of the comments were, dude, why is he still doing it? This is elderly abuse and stuff like that. Nobody, instead of people being happy to see him perform, you got probably 40 to 60, because of course fans are gonna fan around it.
Yeah.
But the fact that you got almost 50-50 in the divide between the people who were supporting him and the people who were calling for him to just stop got me truly into thinking about this.
Yeah.
because even Van Halen, and they are not that old, man. Even though they've been around forever, David Lee Roth looks amazing. He's still rocking. Of course, Eddie is unable to come back, but rest in peace as well. Great, Eddie's Eddie. But right now you got this whole situation with Van Halen and Van Hagar, because people attacked Sammy Hagar for touring as well and creating like a quasi version of Chicken Foot, because they got Chad Smith, I think, on the drums, Joe Satriani on the guitar, and it's basically Chicken Foot. But they're playing the Van Halen Van Hagar stuff, the period in which Sammy Hagar replaced David Lee Roth in Van Halen.
Yeah.
And they were touring, playing those old songs. Why? And I am a fan of everybody involved in that band. Huge fan of everybody in that band.
Yeah.
But they're like, why? For real? Because for as much as Sammy Hagar is awesome, I was thinking as a singer myself, man, you could barely sing Dreams back in your prime.
Yeah.
Today's impossible, dude. And people attacking Yusuf Trini because he's not a... Of course.
Yeah.
He's great as well as a guitar player. Probably even better from a technical perspective. Disclaimer, and don't shoot the arrows. Fanboy of both. I'm just trying to be objective here. So it's not that Joe is incapable of playing the songs, but I kind of see why people are concerned. Why? Is the more consistent question. Why would you do this? There's nobody was asking for this. And then you see David Lee Roth coming back as well, doing the same. Like, don't tell me they're fighting because they hate each other. So don't tell me this is them continuing with the. No. It's terrible, man.
Yeah, but it's sadly all more of the same. And now, thinking from a cultural perspective, that truly means stagnation. Because even the conversations that are propelled are stuck in time.
Yeah.
Because if we're still talking about the same acts, doing the same antics, and having even the same
fights,
conflicts.
Yeah.
Things haven't moved at all. And now thinking culturally once again, if the conversations that everybody's having are exactly the same, it means that we're not pushing culture forward.
No.
Which means that we're gonna just lead to more stagnation, because the people that are the product of that generation, that could be the ones propelling the next one, are still stuck in time as well.
Are busy fighting about stuff that happened 40 years ago.
Yes. The fact that another spin of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is coming our way is a horrible sign of our stagnation.
And you know what's the worst part? It will be successful.
It will.
And it will set the precedent for the rest to do the same. So we're gonna, man, we're already watching it happen in real time in front of us. Yeah. With the whole revamp of the DC Cinematic Universe. Dude, the other day we were discussing how many Batmans have been in the last 15 years. Yeah. We got already 3.
One generation of people, 3 Batmans.
And if you think about it, we got a 4th one because they brought freaking Michael Keaton back.
Oh yeah, actually.
God damn it.
Yeah.
So if you were 10 years old of age when the first when the freaking Dark Knight got released, you will be what? Oh, you will be 30, almost 20. It's been 20. God.
The thing is the whole thing with the passing of time. Coming back to the passing of time once again, it has been. Why is it so shocking to think that we are already in 2025?
It feels like yesterday.
Because it feels like yesterday. Because we're talking about the same things. We're living through the same things. Yeah, we're seeing the same things on the movies. We're listening to the same music.
My shock is not coming from me realizing that I'm older. No. It's the fact that it feels like yesterday because we're still living the same stuff.
Yeah. And Jurassic Park is coming out.
And coming out as well. Indeed. And you know that they're remaking Starship Troopers again?
Are they?
Yeah. They're there to do it.
It doesn't surprise me.
No.
Doesn't surprise me these days.
No, this thing, no. What surprises me is like, is that a new movie? Wow.
Yeah. Incredible.
Incredible. Or wow. Is this band actually from this decade? It's not coming from. It's not a band from 15 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of disheartening, being very honest, to see that we truly are stuck. And the main issue is the one that you just presented. People are buying it.
Yeah.
Because if it was the case that they were releasing more of the same and nobody cared for it, eventually they would have to stop because it wouldn't be a sustainable model.
Yeah, they will have to. They will be forced to find the next good product.
Yeah.
But there is no need for it.
Yeah.
Why would you? Because you already have the secret formula.
Yeah. It's cheap. It's reliable. You know that's gonna work because you're relying on nostalgia.
And the best part, no marketing involved, other than just promotion, because the goodwill is already there.
Yeah.
So you simply have to announce it, and you will sell.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the audiences, because let's use the Marvel audience for example, because it's very current, it's very big.
And I think it's the best sample we got of this phenomenon.
Yeah. I think even the diehard fans of Marvel are very fed up with the situation that we currently have. Even the ones that continue buying. So there's a mismatch there.
I don't know, man. If I would look, I'm gonna use the numbers in the box office. Yes, it's clear that people are not buying it, but just by the reaction they had when they brought back Robert Downey Jr. again, not to play Iron Man, mind you, in the first movie. He will in the second one. Rumors. Do your own research. You'll see. But man, nobody's not expecting him to do Iron Man again. So, use the reaction. Soy face everywhere. It worked like a fiddle, man, like a charm. Because they play them like a fiddle. I was messing up my phrasal verbs. That's already proven. They don't have to do anything. They simply will stop doing what didn't work, and they will keep doing what always worked.
Yeah.
And if they can, and that's actually full-on Alex Jones mode, Tinfoil had requested, not even suggested. How about if they just rehire them all for this hooray of Marvel movies, just for them to go through the Kiss treatment, digitize them.
Yeah, now with the state of AI, there's definitely a possibility.
But because probably you might make the claim that right now, today, AI people, they can be very, very good for a short video. But after a few seconds or minutes of you watching the video, you start to see there is something going on. The uncanny valley pops in.
Yeah.
But that's today. A year from here, it's going to be incredibly better.
Especially when you think of how was AI like 2 years ago to how it's now.
I mean, it's insane.
It is.
So, and it's developing faster. So how about if their plan is just to get the information that the future AI will need to be able to keep putting Tony Stark on the screen as Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Forever. And but will be he? How is he gonna be happy about it? Easy, franchising his image.
Yeah.
He could simply, I license you to use my image and my voice. Imagine if that ever comes to fruition.
Honestly, for as dystopian as it sounds, it's not far-fetched.
And look,
Not far-fetched.
they did it already with Indiana Jones, because the opening for the newest movie that never happened. Of course, there are only 3 Indiana Jones movies. I know what I'm talking about. The opening scene is 20 years, like 30 years earlier in the continuity of the Indiana Jones franchise. So you actually have Harrison Ford in his 40s when he did Indy. Badass Indiana Jones, the only one.
Yeah.
How? They had an actor doing everything, but they replaced his face with a doppelganger coming out of computers.
It's already happening.
And it happened last year. Now imagine 2 years ahead, 3 years ahead.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe me, just type down Little Mermaid, Robert De Niro. No, it's what's the name of this guy? Danny DeVito. You will thank me, and also you will be disgusted. But if you watch that bad boy, you're gonna like, this is a meme. and it looks like this.
Yeah.
And this was done by somebody with way too much free time.
Yeah.
Now
By a
imagine
studio with all of the resources in the
in
world.
the world, man, imagine what they could do.
Yeah.
And now transport that into the world of music. We are beyond cooked. If that ever comes to happen.
Yeah. So to try to leave the conversation in a not as doomy outlook, I think that it's on us, the people that listen to the music, that buys the games, that go to the movies.
Support your local act.
And more than anything, because once again, coming back to the Marvel, using it as a token for the phenomenon. The industry doesn't respect you. Okay. No,
Yeah. Let's complain with it.
It doesn't.
They hate you.
If you continue to buy their stuff, you don't respect yourself as well. So
Good point.
I think one way that we can put some form of handbrake to the advances of this is getting a little bit of self-respect. We deserve better.
Yeah.
For real. We deserve more than just the same Marvel movie hit rehashed. We deserve more than the same musical act from 40 years ago. We deserve new and good.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be super surprised and knocked out of our chairs because a game that is half decent was released.
Yeah. It shouldn't be. That would be mediocre back in my day.
Yeah. So, and I'm not using this to criticize the game. I don't know about the game. I just mean that more than likely 90% of the praise that it gets is simply for not being as bad as everything else.
It's because it doesn't suck.
So I get the sentiment. We even have a show that's all about music that doesn't suck.
Yeah, because we're trying to bring back or at least shine light on the stuff that actually is not awful.
So yeah, we get the sentiment.
Yeah, I feel ya, bro.
The thing is, we should raise our standards a little bit. We
Yeah.
shouldn't put up with the crap anymore. For God's sake.
And that's actually the purpose behind that show.
Yeah.
It's not trying to be depressed. It's like, dude, we used to be this good.
Yeah.
Which means we can be that good again. We can make our life great again. So please, for freaking sake, as Theo says, yes, it begins with us.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want music to get great again, to become great again, what you could do is first support the legacy good stuff. I agree, because you shouldn't stop listening to Fleetwood Mac. Fantastic, you should.
Yeah.
Because it will inspire newer generations of musicians.
Mm-hmm.
But give yourself the chance to discover new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when you discover something that it's good, and it's as good as the stuff that is already the stuff of legends,
Mm-hmm.
support it. Not by listening to them on Apple Music or Spotify. That gives nothing to them. Buy a record.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Bandcamp. I know I don't even have a CD player. Not near do I. But what you can do is go to Bandcamp, buy the freaking album as a download.
Mm-hmm.
That will give them incentives to keep pushing forward, and also it will give them more money and allow them to keep up with the production of new music that you will like because you already like them, by the sheer amount of you buying it, and promote them.
Yeah.
If they have the chance to tour, go there.
Yeah.
And become an apostle. Try to promote their music.
Yeah.
Because that's how the whole thing became a thing in the first place.
Yeah.
Out of the word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
People sharing stuff. Because the other day I was watching this cheap audio man. Fun. The guy was talking about cassettes.
Mm.
How much they sucked. They still suck. And so somehow there was a revival a few years ago.
Mm.
Among
Right.
hipsters. Because... dude, Gen Z never had or owned any form of music,
Physical media in
physically
general.
speaking,
Yeah.
or movies. So when they found that we used to listen to music, well, I didn't, but they used to listen to music in the worst format ever created by humanity. They were like, oh, that's amusing. So you saw a good chunk of artists, even Metallica re-released the Black Album in 2020, I think, in cassette. So it sounds like ass.
Yeah.
People bought it,
Mm.
and why? Because some people bought it out of the irony. Look, I bought a cassette tape.
A Metallica cassette.
Yeah, yes. But some other people bought them as well out of nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
But those are all farts, both the ironical one or the nostalgic one.
Yeah.
but also Zoomers.
Mm.
Why? Can you believe that there is music inside of this? Like that. And also, well, kind of feels great holding my music
That I bought with
that
my
I
money.
bought with my money. That I don't depend, that it doesn't depend to be connected on an internet connection for it to work. How innovative!
Yeah.
Wow!
Mind blowing.
No, it is! In the grim darkness of the current age.
Yeah.
So that's why. And if that piece of junk of technology kind of made a comeback,
Mm-hmm.
and if you look at the sales of vinyl going upwards and upwards steadily, even CDs making a comeback. It's not going to replace digital by any means, and CD is digital, by the way. But it will never replace streaming. Streaming is the doom of everything. But the fact that you're starting to see that trend,
Yeah.
it's because people are trying to have a hold and have control over what they buy.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of derailed because this is basically another conversation for another podcast. But the core of this is buy from your artist. Please do. Please do. It's not because I'm playing my back. No, of course not. No, for real. Yeah, because if you want this horrible trend to change, or at least stop, or minimize, or be minimized by wherever we can minimize it, support the stuff that could put make an affront to this.
Yeah.
So, in that note, final comments.
So no, I think we covered the ground that we're meant to cover today. It was great to have you here, yours and boys. And if you like this kind of conversations and you want to be part of more conversations like this one, I invite you to subscribe to our channel, ring the bell. That way you can be notified for whenever we do this, and you can be a part of it as well.
We do this every week.
Yes, we do this on a weekly basis. Since we're at it, we also have other channels tackling other aspects of music that you might want to check out as well. But regardless, it's great to have you here. And if you want to support this channel even further, you can also listen to our music on Apple Music or Spotify.
Shameless plug now.
It is.
Support new independent stuff.
Yes. And
again, we've been inactive, so those albums are old. But regardless,
we're working on it.
We're working on it, allegedly.
Yeah. And following us on social media such as Instagram or X. And if you want to see the link, you can be quick about it.
Yes.
But anything else to be said?
Yeah, the Discord. We're gonna put the link to our Discord on the pinned comment to this video, so you can join there, where we have discussions about this in a much more active fashion.
Yeah.
And we can keep up with the conversation after the shows are over. So please feel free to join and be part of this. So as usual, the only thing left to be reminded is that you should never let anybody tell you what to dream about. Remember that we'll see you when we see you.